welcome to CLEA'S World. I am Clea, and today I would like to share with you more information I've received from the 25th dimension during my last BQH hypnosis session. I'll be reading from a transcript, and when I refer to Lorrayne, I'm speaking of the practitioner who's asking me questions I prepared in advance of the session. And when I refer to me, I'm talking of myself under hypnosis, which means that the answers are coming from the 25th dimension. But before I move forward, I want to thank you as always for liking, subscribing if you haven't done so, and above all, if you could comment below to let me know where you are at with these things. I'm always looking for feedback. I want to see where you guys are at. This really makes a big difference to me, and as you well know, I reply to everybody because we're all growing together, we're all learning together. This is all uncharted territory for all of us. This information is so new that it's important for me, and I hope you guys are seeing the benefit of that to also see where people are at with this. All right, very good. I'm going to start reading here. Lorrayne, out of 1.7 billion people who are originally on this planet, how come only 3.5 million have chosen to go to New Earth? Why is New Earth such an unpopular choice, especially when New Earth is all New Age spirituality talks about, and everyone seems so desirous of moving there? Me. Well, Claire was not aware this would come up when she wrote this question, but this is actually the perfect segue question from what we just discussed. And they're referring to what we discussed in the previous video, which was the introductory video to this new session. So if you haven't watched it already, you might want to check it out because it was truly eye-opening in many ways. All right, so why is that? They're saying, why is this the perfect segue? Because most people who have been here did not want to know. They did not want to remember. What are you guys going through? And if you're going through this at the level of consciousness that you have, you worked so hard for, you prepare so much for, you have sweated to get to, not only from a work perspective, but even emotionally, you've gone through so many things to get to this type of understanding. We don't want to say level of understanding, but type of understanding you have right now, because it is so dense here. Then imagine, do you think for one moment that everyone else would be not able, because of course the higher self is able to do anything, would be willing, would be even interested in experiencing this? This has been a very hard choice for us to make in terms of what we would consider from a 3D perspective. But even on New Earth, what are we going to be dealing with? We're going to be dealing with the conscious knowledge of what's happened on this planet. Now, as we said many times, we will have a different type of consciousness on New Earth. We'll know more, we'll understand more, but we will still have emotions that are very much human in nature. And so this will be very hard. So what many speak of going to New Earth is this, again, this paradise, and it's almost, again, something to look forward to, and we should all go there. Really, what they're referring to is going to a place where this darkness does not exist. But we already know within the matrix, darkness always exists. Polarity will always exist. That's the entire point of the matrix. Now, of course, it will not look as dire as here, but because we have lived through this, we'll have to deal with the knowledge that this is how dark it did look here, even though we're not going to, it will never be played out in real life, meaning within the matrix in the same way. We're still going to have to deal emotionally with the fact that we've been happy-go-lucky about it here. We really have, all of us. We've supported it. We thought it was a great idea. So do you believe for one moment that everyone would be up for this? So this is the answer to your question. It relates exactly to what we just said. We chose the least painful reality in a way, what we believe we could handle from a 3D perspective. And many essences have come. Maybe they've not been around as much or as long as you or Clea have on this planet. They have no particular commitment to seeing something through. And they just wanted to come to experience something, whether it was the takedown or in a conscious manner to go hang out with the aliens. Some just want 3D reality. They moved on to the chambers. They're perfectly happy. 3D reality looks 100, 1,000 times better. So it's all resolved for them. It's all good. That's what they wanted. Not everyone is willing. It's not about being able, but is willing to deal with what this is going to feel like when we do get to New Earth and we realize everything. We're going to have the luxury of time there. As you know, time is not real, so we're going to have time. Like Clea always complains about the fact that she has no time to think, and she really doesn't. Many of us, we have not wanted to think here because what is thinking? It's not about thinking, you know this. It's about going inside and actually feeling what's happening. And so in order to elaborate, we're going to need time to feel our feelings, to connect, to realize that we are connected, to actually go through everything. We don't give ourselves this type of time on this planet. There is a reason for that. We don't want to know. We never wanted to know until we did, of course, because things don't happen by chance. You are in contact with this information. You're receiving this information from us because you wanted it. You can very well imagine, you know this from a rational 3D perspective. There's quadrillions of pieces of information, gazillions of pieces of information on this planet. What are the chances that you would hear from the 25th dimension? That alone should tell you, how did this happen? So you see, you have made a certain choice. The essence is always sovereign, and therefore you made this particular choice as well. But at the same time, you know, I'm sure you have keen observer, Lorrayne, that not everybody's like you. And we don't meet at a higher self level. At a higher self level, we're absolutely all the same. When we say not everybody's like you, we mean it from a preference, a 3D reality. We all want to experience different things. We all have different interests, and there is no judgment. So from a 3D reality, you already notice that you don't see a lot of people like you. Why is that? Because you happen to have certain interests that are not very popular on a planet like this. They've not been very popular. Also, for that reason, it is only recently we decided we are going to spread this information from the 25th, because we were perfectly happy to go along and receive information that kept us in the game, even on a spiritual level. And it's perfectly fine. We ourselves, we already said, we ourselves in the future will want to reincarnate and forget all about the 25th and everything else, and still believe, no matter where you are in the matrix, still believe that there is ascension, that you have to improve yourself, and there is good and bad. And so I need to behave a certain way so I can be good, and all these things, which are part of the game. This is what makes the game fun. So this is great. There's nothing wrong with these things. But you have made a different choice in this lifetime. So the question to you is, why? And do you think, and how many other people do you know that have made this choice? That alone will tell you why most people never wanted to move to New Earth. They have this concept of New Earth that's not really, has nothing to do with New Earth, has everything to do with the equivalent. We've said this before. New Age spirituality is just like religion. It's the equivalent of thinking there's something so much better there that has nothing to do with what I'm experiencing here. Because of course, none of us have really fully enjoyed how things were here. So of course, all of us are looking forward to better. That's the whole point. But not only, when you play this game within the matrix, a lot of us have said, a lot of us don't want to know that we create our reality. So of course we said to ourselves, I'm a victim here, and I really hope, because again, you're outside of yourself, and I really hope that there's something better. That's all. And this is how it shows up. And again, it's exactly how it's supposed to be. There's nothing wrong with that. But this is not the choice you made, Lorrayne. Lorrayne, thank you. Okay. The 12,000. You said that each of the 12,000 is embodying 12 bodies at this time, which means they share the same higher self. If so, why did Clea get the information from you in the 25th? Why not any of our other 11 incarnations? Could they have done it since it was their shared higher self wanting this? Or does each embodied incarnation still individually behave as everyone else with their own higher self and their own life path, emotions, preferences, etc.? And I've been really curious about this, not only because supposedly I'm one of the 12,000, and so I am doing this. I have 1,200 incarnations. Actually, I'm aware of one. So it's quite fascinating for me to even think about this entire concept, but also because we are all one anyway. So what is the difference here? It's kind of weird to think that these 12 different embodied incarnations will become one when we go to New Earth. So we have all these different life experiences that come together as one. So I'm like, does each one of us behave as if we're individuals anyway? But we have the same higher self. So how's the higher self distributing tasks? So it's all very fun and interesting for me. So this is the answer. Me. Yes, so we do share our higher selves. We've already spoken about this. The light workers have the ability, have incarnated within 12 bodies on this planet at the same time. It's the same higher self. We've also mentioned the higher self is interested in the case of the 12,000 because in general, the higher self is not interested in accelerating experiences. But in order to achieve a certain level of knowledge at this level or a certain level of consciousness, the higher self of the 12,000 has chosen to separate itself, separate, quote unquote. Obviously, there is no separation in energy, but separate itself within 12 individuals, the way that we think of this here, 12 bodies. And therefore, yes, the higher self could come through any of them to say, this is what I expect you to realize. This is what I expect this other, I expect Claire to realize this. I expect Bob to realize this. I expect Jeannie to realize this. Absolutely, yeah. And we already said all 12 bodies are aligned towards the same next station, okay? So in this case, all 12 obviously will be going to New Earth. Of course, they'll be going as one because the energy is indivisible. They don't go as 12 because we're not taking our bodies. So we're not going as 12 individuals, but we are collecting experience from all of us. Now, again, it's not collecting experiences because we're trying to accelerate our experience in 3D. It is not about 3D at all. It is all about the fact that we're more effective at a 3D level by separating ourselves. In fact, most of the 12,000, their 12 bodies are spread throughout the world because, again, each light worker has a particular purpose. And of course, it's easier to cover almost physically the entire planet. So in this case, yes, it could have happened to anybody else. It was Claire's experience, a particular experience at a 3D level, to go through certain motions. And so obviously to get to this, have a certain type of personality and get to this point to where she will be openly speaking about connecting with us, realize that she's connected with us and do everything she has done. However, she's always smiling because we discussed before the fact that there is one of her other incarnations in the group. And she's always smiling when this person comments because she realizes they have the same way of thinking about things and they're going through similar experiences, and they were laughing here. So yes, it could have happened to anybody, but again, each individual at an individual level decides what the life path is and how this life path is going to, this experience is going to manifest. And truly, it really makes no difference whether you're the one saying the words, connecting with us, and the other person being in the group, for example. There's really no difference. We're all getting information from the 25th. Now, we would have gotten it anyway. We already said this before. It doesn't need to be spoken. But you see, at the end of the day, there was no difference. These people are still going through the same experiences that the higher self has in mind for this particular lifetime. So yes, it could have been anybody, but it's almost set up like each body can have their own life experience. But at the same time, all these life experiences are very similar. They're not completely at odds with each other. For example, you wouldn't have one of the 12 be a 3D person, a fully 3D person, because then this person would not be aligned with going to New Earth. It takes a lot of preparation, emotional and spiritual, to go to New Earth. We already said, not because, again, we are any stronger or any tougher or any better than anybody else, but because we had decided we would go to New Earth. Of course, we come in and we have to do the work to align, because otherwise this is going to be a pretty rough wake up, really rough situation to deal with when we do get to New Earth. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question. Lorrayne. It is so funny to me when we think about this from a broader perspective. We are all one. We are all fractals of the one. We're all individual expressions of the one. So it's like the 12,000 are separate, not separate, but they're fractalizing more than we're already fractalized. Me. Correct. That's a good way. Absolutely. You're exactly correct. Really, all we're doing, and we all know how to do this. We're not interested in doing it from a greater perspective because, again, we're not interested in accelerating our explorations because we have eternity to contend with. So actually, if anything, we want to slow everything down, right? And focus on just one experience if we can for as long as possible. But yes, in this case, the 12,000 have done exactly what we know how to do, which is fractalize. Now we know, we've said it a million times, you just said it yourself, you cannot be separate. There's no separation. But truly, we do experience it from a separate perspective within the matrix, because this is the fun of it. That was the whole point, to experience the separation. And so, yes, the 12,000, what have they done? I mean, again, nothing out of the ordinary. They've simply done exactly what we know how to do. It's like, let's fractalize some more so we can have these separate experiences. Again, it wasn't done with the goal of having separate experiences. It was done because there was a point. It's almost like you cannot play soccer by yourself, but all of a sudden you're 12 people, you got 11 friends, and all of a sudden you can actually make a game happen. So we wanted certain things to happen a certain way. We needed extra bodies. They were laughing. That's all we've done. Now, do we need that? Could we have done it without? Of course, but this is the way we've decided. We've always chosen to play it. So this is just how we do it. It doesn't mean it's the only way to do it. As we learn more about the things we can do within the matrix without upsetting things, maybe we'll change this. Maybe in the future we'll not have 12 bodies anymore. Maybe we'll have something completely different. But so you're absolutely right on. And I'm sure that to you, this is quite funny, because it is a curious thing, is it not? Where this is exactly the game we played, that God has played, Source has played, this fractalization game. And here we are doing the same thing. And they were laughing. Lorrayne, I find it interesting that we refer to the higher self as if it's separate. It's a separate entity from the whole. It's just, that's how my mind works. Me. Yeah, absolutely. And you are correct. Now, we have said before, for example, there is no separation between Source, the 25th, us in 3D. There is no separation. However, we do want to experience the separation. This is why we talk about it in these terms. But again, it's all the same, because it's all the same energy. But at the same time, Source is having fun feeling, we are having fun feeling that there is this separation. So while it is funny, of course, when you start to think about it, because it can be right? I mean, it's not real. And we said this a million times, none of this is real. We are all one. At the same time, we do enjoy feeling this way. So we can have these conversations. I mean, how boring would it be? Like, I'm talking to myself right now. They were laughing. Isn't it more fun for Clea to think that she's an individual talking with you, Lorrayne? She's having a great time. She says, hey, I have another great friend. This is how it works, right? We enjoy this, so we do this, Lorrayne. And we were limited by language too. Me, yes. All right, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. As always, take care.